In this video, in honor of Black History Month, I wanted to shoot a short review on the film One Night in Miami. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Dr. Anwar Yusef Dunbar, and this is Big Discussions 76, Entertainment and Media. First of all, please like this video, please share it, and please subscribe to my channel. Well, in this video, in honor of Black History Month, I wanted to shoot a short review of One Night in Miami, which is I just found out that it's a fictional dramatization of a one night spent where Malcolm X, Jim Brown, Sam Cooke, and then Cassius Clay were all hanging out and fellowshipping after Cassius Clay's then historic first victory over Sonny Liston. So as I was thinking about shooting this, I did wonder, and actually in the aftermath of watching it, I was wondering in terms of the events, in terms of what they talked about in the movie, how real is this? How accurate is this? And it turns out, just by doing a quick Google search, it is a fictional dramatization. But it was pretty good. It was directed by Regina King. I don't need to talk about who she is. If you don't know who Regina King is, if you weren't around in the 80s, or you didn't see A Thin Line Between Love and Hate, or Boys in the Hood, or Poetic Justice, or I believe just recently The Watchmen, you can do a quick search on her. But like many actors and actresses, she is now stepping behind the camera into the director's chair. So, as I said, the movie is it's a story, a dramatization of the night that Cassius Clay, who would go on to become Muhammad Ali, it's a night. It's about that night, and it turns out that they were all friends. Cassius Clay, because he was Cassius Clay at that point. Cassius Clay, Malcolm X, and Jim Brown, and Sam Cooke. And I started seeing the trailer for this in late 2020, and it piqued my interest because just because of that civil rights era, but also I've always found Malcolm X to be a fascinating character. Like a lot of people, reading his autobiography as a youth was a bit of a life-changing thing for me, so I've always found him to be a fascinating character. So in terms of who was in the movie, so Leslie Odom Jr. played Sam Cooke, the recording artist, singer, who sung Change is Gonna Come. Kingsley Ben-Adir played Malcolm X. Eli Gorey, I think that's Gorey, played Cassius Clay. And Aldous Hodge played Jim Brown. Aldous Hodge, first time I ever saw him act was as MC Ren in Straight Outta Compton. He also played Brian Banks in the Brian Banks movie. So he's a pretty strong actor. So in terms of what I can say about the movie, I'm not going to go through everything. It was about 2 hours long, maybe an hour 15 minutes. I can't remember. It was on Amazon Prime. Originally, I thought it was on Netflix, but it was actually on Amazon Prime. And so if you have Amazon Prime, you can pull it and watch it yourself. But regardless of how accurate it was, what stood out to me about the movie was that it's pretty much a reflection of what we're in Black America and in the Black community, what we're all going around and around and around in circles about. The same discussion points, the same topics. And it could be that Regina King and whoever wrote the screenplay, it could be that they intentionally wrote these things in. And it's basically class, social class. That was a main theme. Also, economics versus activism. Economics versus activism was a huge theme of this most recent 2020 election, and it's something that we're probably always going to go around and around and around in circles in and not agree on. There was a scene where one of the dynamics, I would say Malcolm was the main character in it, because he was the lone non-performer. Jim Brown and Cassius Clay were professional athletes. Sam Cooke was a recording artist. Malcolm X, at that time, was a minister in the Nation of Islam who, at that time, was on the verge of leaving. And so one of the things in the movie that Malcolm was trying to get across to Jim Brown, Cassius Clay, and Sam Cooke is that you guys have these large platforms. You guys need to be the voices for the people. You guys need to use your platforms and your influence to inspire change and to cause change. We're seeing that a lot today with our professional athletes and entertainers. And as a matter of fact, that's one of the things that Michael Jordan was criticized about to a significant degree, the fact that he didn't use his platform and his voice for social justice and for civil rights. So that was a major theme of the movie. In terms of economic power, the Sam Cooke character and the Malcolm X character went back and forth about that, and there was a discussion where Sam Cooke actually said, I recorded a song, it's escaping me right now which song it was, but I sold the rights to that song to I believe it was the Rolling Stones. It was one of the British bands. And then he came back and he said, well, they got more fame, but myself and my writing group, we got the royalties, we got the residuals. So every time that song got played, every time a copy of that record was sold, we got the money. We got paid for that. And I think that was a critical message. Is it building your economic base? Is it building your economic power? Or is it the activism? Which is more important? Or are they both important? That's something that the script and the movie asks, and that's something that it gets you thinking about. In terms of the Malcolm X character, I think I'm going to shout out Art Newstall, because I didn't think about this until he mentioned it. Who was Malcolm X really? We know who he was when he was out giving those fiery speeches for the Nation of Islam. And we know that after he left the Nation of Islam, after he made the Hajj, the pilgrimage to Mecca, we know that he became a little more willing to work with people of other ethnic groups. But who was he behind closed doors? In the Spike Lee, Denzel Washington Malcolm X movie, they showed us, or they depicted the amount of stress that was weighing on Malcolm after he left the Nation of Islam, after the FBI started tracking him, and after whoever it was started making threats on his life, after his house got bombed. Spike tried to show us the mental strain and arguably the depression and the sadness that Malcolm dealt with in those last days. But Art Newstall pointed out that this Malcolm X in this movie seemed a lot like Barack Obama. The way he carried himself, the way he spoke, the way he articulated himself. And I didn't notice that when I was watching it, but I think that was interesting. So whoever wrote this made a concerted effort to have this Malcolm X mirror Barack Obama to some degree. And you might disagree with that yourself. So I thought that I thought that it was good. I think it's worth sitting down and watching, and it's highly relevant for what's happening in 2021. And those themes that One Night in Miami addresses are things that we're still going back and forth on within Black America. And these are still things that in large part we can't seem to agree on as a group. which I think was very, very good for the writers to depict that way. Let's see, who else stood out to me in this movie? Online, Jasmine Cephas Jones and Nicolette Robinson played Barbara Cook, who was Sam Cooke's, I guess that was his wife. I really liked Nicolette Robinson, but I'll just stop that right there. And Jeremy Pope played Jackie Wilson, and the way they depicted Jackie Wilson, and I don't know a lot about Jackie Wilson. I don't know a lot about what went on behind the scenes with these figures, these iconic figures from our past. I didn't even know that Jim Brown and Malcolm and Cassius Clay and Sam Cooke, I didn't know that they were all cool like that. But the way they depicted Jackie Wilson in this film, and he was only in it briefly, was that he was willing to sabotage other performers. In this instance, Sam Cooke. And in that scene, that's the way Sam Cooke was able to salvage that performance. Really, really impressed Malcolm X that night in Boston, who was standing behind at the back of the amphitheater where Sam Cooke was performing. Oh, one other thing that Art Newstall, shout out to Art Newstall, one other thing that he pointed out was there was a scene where Jim Brown responded in a very, very aggressive way to Malcolm's Nation of Islam chaperones, and that I believe they're called the Fruit of Islam. But this particular older gentleman, he just put his hands up and said, and I laughed when I saw the scene. He just laughed. He just said, "God is good," and he backed away. He backed away from the conflict. I don't know if that was accurate, but Art Newstall made the point that that wouldn't have happened. The Fruit of Islam would have met Jim Brown's force with force of their own. So I thought that was interesting. And then I'll close this by saying that one of the scenes that really, really resonated with me was the scene towards the end when Cassius Clay officially became either Cassius X or Muhammad Ali in front of a Nation of Islam crowd, and he looked over and Malcolm X was not in his seat, and signifying that he had in fact left the Nation of Islam. So it was very, very visible at that point that he was no longer a part of the group. That was a sub-theme as well. Should he join the nation now that Malcolm X is leaving? And did Malcolm X betray Cassius Clay by leaving the Nation of Islam after mentoring him in? And yeah, I think one other point Art Newstall made about that Malcolm X character, that he was a little bit more weepy and a little bit more weak than what the real Malcolm X was. But who was the real Malcolm X? Who really knows, except for those who knew him and were there. So I'm going to stop this here. Those are my thoughts on One Night in Miami. I liked it. I will probably watch it again, and I recommend that you watch it as well. It's very relevant for today, and it has a lot of themes that are very relevant for what's happening in the United States today, especially for melanated people. If you want to leave something in the tip jar, that information is below this video. Please like this video, please share, and please subscribe. And as always, remember that your attitude determines your altitude. Take care, and I'll talk to you the next time. Bye-bye. Hello all. As per usual, I have some follow-up thoughts following the shooting of the main part of this video. The first one was that Michael Imperioli was also in One Night in Miami. He played Angelo Dundee, Muhammad Ali's famous trainer. And I've seen Michael Imperioli in so many movies. I could spot him right away. The nose, his face, all of that. And for those of you unfamiliar with him, Michael Imperioli's been in a ton of films since the late 1980s and early 1990s. I remember him famously playing Spider in Goodfellas, and good things did not happen to Spider. And I remember he also was in Dead Presidents with Larenz Tate, and there was something very grisly that happened to his character in Dead Presidents. And I believe he was also in The Sopranos. He was one of the main characters in The Sopranos. So Michael Imperioli is he's been in a lot. He's a veteran, even though I don't think he's ever been the A-list headliner actor, but he's paid his dues, and I recognized him. The other thing was that Eli Gorey, I think it's Eli Gorey, the way it's spelled, who played Cassius Clay, his Muhammad Ali voice, that Kentucky accent that he was trying to capture and portray, to me sounded a lot like Will Smith's Muhammad Ali. So for those of you who don't know, Will Smith played Muhammad Ali back in 2001, and he played it really, really well, but their accents and their portrayals of Muhammad Ali / Cassius Clay sounded very, very similar to me. And then the last thing I wanted to say was that regarding the points of view in One Night in Miami, whether it's activism, social justice, civil rights, or economics, or should I say influencing systemic change through economics, I want to say that I think all voices and all methods matter, and no one is more important than the other. So that's something that we're going around and around and around in circles about today, and that was actually a part of Ice Cube's, or should I say that was a part of the controversy surrounding Ice Cube's contract for Black America. Is it social activism, or is it economics, or is it some mixture of the two? All right, that's all I wanted to say. So let me know what you think in the comment section below, and I will talk to you the next time. Bye-bye.